Most families think memory loss starts with age. It does not always start there. Sometimes it starts with a habit so ordinary nobody looks twice at it. A missed glass of water, a sleeping pill taken too often, a medicine combination that seemed harmless because each pill made sense on its own. Then one day a parent repeats the same question 3 times before lunch. A name disappears. A familiar road suddenly feels unfamiliar. And the family says the same thing families say every day. Maybe this is just getting older. Sometimes it is, but many times it is not. I want you to hear this clearly. A foggy brain does not always mean a dying brain. In a surprising number of older adults, the problem is not permanent damage at all. It is overload. The brain is being slowed, dulled, dehydrated, undernourished, underrested, or chemically crowded from several directions at once. That matters because when the real cause is identified early, clarity can come back. Not always completely, not instantly, but often enough to change a life. I have seen families panic over memory loss when the real trigger was sitting in plain sight the whole time, not a dramatic disease, not some rare condition, just ordinary things stacking up until the brain could no longer compensate. That is what makes this so dangerous. These causes hide inside routines people trust. They hide inside bedtime habits, bathroom cabinets, rushed prescriptions, poor sleep, low appetite, and the assumption that if something is common, it must also be safe. Today, I want to walk through the hidden memory wreckers that get missed the most. Not because they are rare, but because they are normal. And normal is exactly what makes them dangerous. Watch closely for the one near the end because it fools families more than almost anything else. It looks like dementia. It sounds like dementia. It is treated like dementia. But in some people, it starts with choices and combinations that can actually be changed. Let's begin with the one almost nobody takes seriously because it feels too simple to matter. Dehydration. Older adults do not always feel thirst the way younger people do. The signal becomes weaker with age, and many seniors also drink less on purpose because they are trying to avoid bathroom trips, leakage, or nighttime waking. The result is a brain running with less fluid, less blood flow, and less efficiency. That is when confusion starts to creep in. The person becomes slower, more irritable, less steady, and strangely forgetful. Families often do not think dehydration because they expect dramatic collapse, but the earliest signs can be subtle. More fatigue, less focus, short-term memory slips, a look in the eyes that says they are present, but not fully. The next hidden trigger is poor sleep, and I do not just mean sleeping fewer hours. I mean fragmented sleep, light sleep, and sedated sleep that looks restful from the outside, but does not restore the brain from the inside. Many older adults spend years falling asleep in a chair, waking repeatedly, napping through the day, then relying on nighttime medicines to knock themselves out. That cycle is brutal for memory. Deep sleep is when the brain clears waste, organizes new information, and resets attention for the next day. If that process is weeknight after night, the mind pays the price. People begin losing words, misplacing items, and forgetting why they walked into a room. Because it happens slowly, everybody normalizes it. Then there is the trap people call harmless relief. The just tonight tablet that becomes every night. The allergy pill used for sleep. The cold medicine taken out of habit. The calming syrup. The nighttime combination product. These do not always hit the body the same way they hit the brain. In older adults, medicines that create drowsiness can linger longer, cloud the next day, and interfere with attention, reaction time, and memory formation. A person may think the pill helped them sleep, while the family only sees that they have become less sharp, more forgetful, and emotionally flatter. What makes this especially dangerous is that the decline is gradual. There is no single moment when everyone realizes the mind has changed. Another hidden cause is low vitamin absorption, especially in people who eat less, digest less efficiently, or stay too long on medicines that alter the stomach environment. The brain depends on nutrients the way a light depends on current. When those nutrients start dropping, symptoms can look eerily familiar. Brain fog, low energy, numbness, poor concentration, slower processing, and memory trouble. Families often assume the person is aging faster than expected. Sometimes the real issue is that the brain is no longer getting what it needs to communicate cleanly. That is why unexplained forgetfulness should never be brushed off without looking at the basics. A starving brain can mimic a failing brain. Now let's talk about uncontrolled pain, because pain steals more memory than people realize. A person living with daily pain is using mental energy every waking hour just to endure the day. Their sleep suffers, their mood drops, their concentration narrows. They become less patient, less flexible, less mentally available. Then pain medicines may be added on top, and now the brain is dealing with both the stress of pain and the dulling effects of treatment. When families see the confusion, they often blame age alone. But a brain trapped in constant discomfort does not perform normally. It cannot. And if the medication used for relief is also sedating, the effect becomes even heavier. There is also a problem hiding in plain sound, hearing loss. This one gets ignored constantly, and the cost is huge. When a person cannot hear clearly, the brain has to spend far more effort decoding speech, filling gaps, guessing meaning, and keeping up socially. That extra strain leaves less mental bandwidth for memory itself. Over time, the person may withdraw, answer less, avoid groups, and seem mentally slower. People call them forgetful when part of the problem is that they are exhausted from trying to understand the world around them. Hearing loss does not just affect the ears, it changes the brain's daily workload. Next comes one of the most dangerous patterns of all, using separate medicines for separate problems without anyone stepping back to look at the full picture. One pill for sleep, one for allergies, one for bladder urgency, one for nerve pain, one for anxiety, one for stomach trouble. Each prescription may have made sense when it was added, but the brain does not experience them one at a time. It experiences the sum, and that sum can be devastating. Attention weakens first, then short-term memory, then confidence. The person starts asking the same question repeatedly, losing track mid-sentence, forgetting recent plans, and relying more on others for simple decisions. Families panic because it resembles cognitive disease. Sometimes what they are really seeing is chemical burden. And here is where many people make the worst mistake. They blame the newest symptom on age and add yet another medicine. A sleep issue leads to a sedative. Confusion leads to another calming medicine. Restlessness leads to something stronger. Poor appetite leads to another pill. Constipation leads to another. Before long, the person is not being treated toward clarity. They are being medicated deeper into the fog. This happens quietly, respectably, often with good intentions. But good intentions do not protect the brain from cumulative effects. Every added medicine changes the environment in which the next one has to work. There is another trigger families overlook because it does not feel like a brain problem at all: blood sugar swings. When sugar runs too high or drops too low, the brain notices fast. Irritability, shakiness, confusion, poor concentration, sudden fatigue, unusual silence, or strange forgetfulness can all appear. In older adults, these episodes are sometimes mistaken for mini cognitive collapses. The person seems not themselves, then later looks better, and everyone moves on without connecting the dots. But repeated swings are hard on the brain. The person becomes less predictable, less sharp, and more vulnerable to mistakes, falls, and fear. A brain that never gets stable fuel cannot deliver stable thinking. Now we need to talk about loneliness and understimulation, because memory is not only chemical, it is functional. The brain needs use, conversation, novelty, purpose, routine, movement, decision-making, social interaction. When these begin shrinking, the mind can shrink with them. This is common after retirement, after a spouse dies, after driving stops, or after someone becomes embarrassed by hearing issues, bladder symptoms, or forgetfulness itself. They retreat. The days flatten out. The same chair, same room, same television, same silence. Then the family notices a decline and assumes it came from inside the brain alone. But disuse has a cost. A mind with nothing to respond to gradually responds less. And then we arrive at the issue that frightens me most because it is so often missed until the decline looks severe. The combination of sleep disruption, sedating medications, low hydration, low nutrients, pain, and emotional stress working together. Not one dramatic cause, not one villainous bottle, a pileup. This is where the picture becomes truly deceptive. The person seems slower every month, more forgetful, less expressive, less steady, less interested. The family starts whispering about dementia. Sometimes they are right, but sometimes the person is buried under burdens that would cloud almost any aging brain. That is why the most important question is not, what disease do they have? The first question is, what has changed? What medicines were started? What over-the-counter products became regular? Has sleep worsened? Has appetite dropped? Are they drinking less? Is pain undertreated or overtreated? Has hearing declined? Have they become isolated? Is their day full of stimulation or empty repetition? Those questions are not minor. They are often the doorway to the real answer. The hopeful part is this. When the problem is burden rather than irreversible damage, improvement is possible. I have seen older adults look 10 years sharper after medication reviews, better hydration, hearing support, improved sleep routines, and a few careful changes. Not because someone found a miracle cure, but because someone finally removed the pressure crushing the system. The brain can be astonishingly resilient when given a fair chance, but it needs that chance early. The longer a person lives inside fog, the more the family starts treating the fog as identity. That is heartbreaking, because sometimes the person we think we are losing is still there, just blocked. So if someone you love has started repeating stories more often, forgetting recent conversations, drifting during simple tasks, getting lost in familiar routines, or seeming unlike themselves, do not assume the answer is obvious. Do not let anyone wave it away with, "That is just old age," before the full picture is reviewed. And just as important, do not let fear push you into rash decisions. Some medicines must never be stopped suddenly. Some conditions require treatment. The goal is not panic. The goal is clarity, careful review, better questions, smarter choices. Start with the medicine cabinet, then look at the water glass, then the sleep pattern, then hearing, then appetite, then the calendar, then the amount of daily human contact. Memory decline may begin in the brain, but many times it is fed by the life around the brain. The people who improve are often the ones whose families stop looking for one dramatic answer and start noticing the stack of smaller ones. If you take anything from this, let it be this one thought. A confused older adult is not always a permanently lost one. Sometimes they are dehydrated, oversedated, undernourished, overmedicated, understimulated, or simply carrying too many hidden stressors at once. That is not a small distinction. It can change everything, because when the cause is missed, a person keeps declining. But when the cause is found, hope has somewhere real to stand. Look around your home tonight. Look at the bedtime pills, the PM products, the backup remedies, the duplicate prescriptions from different doctors, the untouched water bottle, the hearing aids left in a drawer, the lonely schedule, the silent afternoons. Sometimes the warning signs are not hidden at all. They are just familiar, and familiar things are the ones we stop questioning. So, before you label memory loss as age, ask one better question. What if the brain is not failing first? What if it is struggling first? That question alone could save months or years of unnecessary decline. And for some families, it could bring back a version of the person they thought was already disappearing.